All right, everyone. Now that we have learned a little bit about pandas series, we are going to move forward and talk about a little bit more generalized data structure in pandas called the data frame. So I'm going to start with a very basic, simple review example. We saw that we can create a pandas series from a dictionary. All right, here is one dictionary that we have used before. Grades equal to um, keys are students' names and values are grades. Right, and if I use a series functions from pandas and pass grades to it, I'm going to get a series that its index. It's in the indexes or indices are keys and values are actually values of or my data series data, they are values of this dictionary. All right, well, in real world we almost never we have just one column. In practice, structured data that we have, tabular data that we have, we oftentimes we have more than one column. Here's just one Excel file I'm going to show you, and then we are going to see how we can convert this to and how we can work with this in pandas. I have student IDs, just fictional students. Student IDs, first name, last name, Python grade, operations grade, and age. Something that I want you to pay attention to, and I've done this intentionally, is um, I have left one space in the student ID between the student and ID, but the other ones I have used underscore to separate these two strings of the column names. All right. Another reminder I want to mention is that you like it or not, Excel has these by default these numbers that you see on the left side: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is very similar to indices that we have in pandas or other data structures that we have seen so far. Let me see how we can take this and bring it to pandas. There are so many different ways of doing this. We are going to start with the most basic one. All right, I'm going to create a dictionary that its keys are these names that you see right here. And in front of every key, I'm going to have these values in a list. It could be any really iterable, all right? It could be tuple as well. It could be a set as well. But we got to be careful with set. Remember, it doesn't accept repetition. Then I'm going to have first name, same thing in a list, last name in a list, Python grades, operations grades, and age in one list. Notice that some of these students, for example, Telly doesn't have operations grade. Maybe he's not taking the grade in that course. Dan doesn't have operations grade, doesn't have Python grade, so I've used none there. All right, and Page doesn't have operations grade either. So let's see how we can remember this structure. I'm going to just put it right here. And let me zoom out a little bit. Put it out here, right here. So this is what I have. I have created a dictionary. Again, the previous one was a dictionary. This one was a dictionary as well. But in this one, one last time, values are just one numbers, all right, or just one. There is no collection here. It's just one number or one string, all right. But here I have keys as those column names, and then values are these columns that I have, and I put them in a list. Now let me see how I can convert this to another data frame, another data structure in pandas called data frame. Data frame is pandas most widely used structure, and it is the structure that accepts a two-dimensional array, or in other words, it accepts just one Excel worksheet. You see, this is one sheet, or it accepts a matrix. So whichever term you are comfortable with, they are all correct. All right. Now I'm going to use, I've imported pandas before. Let me get rid of these. Right, I have imported pandas before. All right, and I'm going to run this cell so that it's in the memory. And then I'm going to say pd data frame. Again, in that data frame function, you have D and you have F as a capital letter. Let me just put a question mark in front of it and see what we have. It says you can provide data equal to, in this our case, we are going to use a student underscore info. You can provide index, you can provide column. We are going to come back to that, so don't worry about it. So let me just put data, and even if I put a DA and then press tab, it's going to say that is data is equal to student info. All right, and we are going to call this df student. Student is equal to, that df stands for data frame, so I'm putting that keyword df at the beginning just to signal myself that I'm storing data frame here. I did the same thing with series. All right, so df underscore student is equal to that. Before running it, do I need to have data equal to? No, but it is helpful to know you are considering student underscore and info as the data for input data for this data frame. All right, so I'm going to run this and it goes through. If I call df student, I'm going to get a table right here, which looks awful a lot like the Excel file that I have here. All right. On the left hand side, I have the default zero based indices, 0 all the way to 11, which means I have 12 rows here. In this case, I have those numbers, but these numbers start from 1, not 0. And of course, the first one has gone to the column names. I have those column names up here, right, as they appear in this Excel file. And as they appear right here, because I did not read from the Excel file, right? And then I have all of the numbers here. One thing that I want you to notice is that those values that are none, pandas has turned them into NaN, or not a number. All right. And this is our very first data frame. In the next videos, we are going to see how we can work with this data frame, how we can access its columns, and how we can manipulate this data frame.